I'll get one take for this. Wow. All right. Where do we even begin? I just finished reading Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. It was fire. It was really good. I'm gonna review it and talk about it today. I'll do a little bit of spoiler-free stuff, and then we'll do spoilers after a couple of minutes. I'll put stuff on screen. So let's talk about Yumi and the Nightmare Painter by Brandon Sanderson. So this is the third of his secret novels, and the second one that takes place in the Cosmere. Like the other ones, the best I can tell you could pretty much just read this whenever, whether you are a Sanderson fan or not. You're going to be able to pick it up and read the book, and it's good. And there's a lot of inside jokes that, you know, his bigger fans are going to be picking up on, but you don't need any of that. It's still a good story, good narrative, completely self-enclosed. So I finally got to start reading Yumi, which I know it came out like a while ago. This whole review is pretty late, but, you know, I'm going to do it anyways. I don't care. So I finally got to read it, and it's really good. Like, I've said that so many times. I mean, I've read the first, like, 6 chapters or so over the course of, like, maybe a week or a week and a half. And then I read the whole rest of the book, like, last night and this morning. So it's a little slow to start, but then once it gets going, like, it just pulls you right along. Brandon Sanderson, as usual, is such an expert at pacing and progress and, like, just keeping you entertained. And, like, I started reading it last night at, like, 1 a.m. or something. I was like, okay, I'm just going to read for a second, and then I'm going to go to sleep. And then I looked, and it was 3 a.m., and I was like, okay, I really need to go to sleep. So I managed to put it down because I found a good stopping spot. And then I woke up in the morning and I was like, oh, my phone's on 3%. I'll just read, like, you know, a couple pages, and then I'll get out of bed and get on with my day. And I was reading, and then my phone died, and I went and plugged it in. And then I ended up reading it on my laptop, and I read the rest of the book, like, this whole afternoon, basically from 9 a.m. till, like, 2:30 or something. I finally took a shower and made myself look presentable so I could do this review. But the books, it was great. So fun to read. I got it sitting right here, so I keep looking at it. Basically, the book was good, and here's why I think it was good. The characters were great characters that were fun to read. They weren't overly complex, but they had the perfect amount of nuance and depth that you would want from a story like this. You should definitely go into it knowing it's not like the most grim dark realistic. It's not Game of Thrones. It's not, you know, Joe Abercrombie. It's Brandon Sanderson. It's still definitely Brandon Sanderson being his little whimsical. I'm just going off cuff here. You guys got to bear with me. It's got a certain level of, like, levity and lightheartedness to it that it's just refreshing, you know, because, like, at least for me especially, the book I've been working on it's, you know, very heavily inspired by, like, Breaking Bad, and, like, it's tons of that crime, you know, very realistic, gritty stuff. And so it was such a breath of fresh air for me, just at the time I'm reading this, to read something so light and fun, almost kind of innocent in a sense. Like, both the main characters are pretty, innocent, naive, pure, whatever you want to call it. And they get thrust into these terribly awkward situations. It reads, like, a little bit like Sanderson's getting horny. Like, he's got all these, like, scenes where they're both in. Well, okay, I'm not going to do any spoilers. Yeah, I'll hold off on the spoilers, but okay, let me get back on track. Yeah, so the characters have a great amount of depth for what the story is. It's not an overly long story. Like I said, I read most of it within, like, I guess 9 hours or something, probably. But yeah, the characters were great. They blend together. They have awesome chemistry. I mean, it's a romance novel at its heart, but there's still tons of that fantasy genre, you know, going on with lots of whimsical, fantastical elements. It's narrated by Hoyd, so if you don't know who that is, it's largely irrelevant to you, but it's narrated by him, and it's a less heavy-handed voice than he had in Tress. So if you read Tress of the Emerald Sea, it's reminiscent of that, but it definitely is, like, dialed back just a little bit. It's not so on the nose, although he still will inject his little quips and such as he feels like. And yet, where were we? The plot. Okay, I talked about the characters. There's 2 main characters and then a couple of side characters. And the main characters are Yumi, and the other character is the Nightmare Painter. So I'm also a little congested. Sorry if I sound sick. The plot's pretty good. We have a really strong A-B style thing. Both characters have point of views, so we're kind of going back and forth between their different perspectives. And as you'll find out when you read, there's an interesting kind of connection, link sort of thing going between them. I won't get into that, but needless to say, these characters are forced to understand each other's perspectives because of usual circumstances, we'll say. And, you know, both characters have really strong points, and they also have really strong blindnesses that the other character is there to kind of help illuminate for them. So that's all done super well. I guess setting, I mean, it's a Sanderson novel. The setting's going to be good. You already know it. You don't even have to worry about it. There's all kinds of weird quirks going on. There's like this nightmare. Well, there's all these nightmares that come around and mess with people. And then there's floating trees and a big black cloud of miasma all over everything. It's very unique. And yeah, that Sanderson always has a great setting. That's almost a given with his novels. So this is not really a surprise, but it's worth mentioning, I suppose. And then I'll do a quick little thing on themes without spoilers, which is a little difficult. I mean, it's a love story, so at the end of the day, it's all kind of about true love triumphing the other stuff. This isn't like the next whatever, like... But it's taking comfortable themes that we've all seen before, and it's doing them well. And, like, you know, at the end of the day, if a book's doing it right, like, it's doing it right, you know? So that's pretty much it for non-spoilers. I want to, like, actually talk about all the stuff that happened, because I'm still reeling. So spoiler warning, you've been warned. Let me drink this. The ending had me in tears. I was gonna say I was sobbing. I wasn't sobbing, but I was like, no, like I was down bad. I thought, okay, spoilers, full fucking book right here. I thought Yumi was dead, and I was tore up about it. Like, I really thought Yumi was just gonna die, and that was gonna be it. And she like sacrificed herself, and I was gonna be livid. I would have been so angry, but okay, he brought her back to life, and it made sense, and it was okay because she was already like kind of a spirit thing. I don't know, the ending had so much momentum. I was just reading it and like kind of understanding everything that was happening. So like Yumi used to be a person, and then she turned into this like spirit remembrant of herself that was like living at the same day for like 1700 years. It's a pretty big plot twist, and executed really well. I really didn't like foresee that coming, so that was really a pretty good twist by Sanderson. He did such a great job of planning those and hiding them so well. But like, you know, obviously in hindsight it makes perfect sense. He's just the king of doing that, and it's equally impressive and annoying, you know? What else was there? Yeah, I was so mad. I thought Yumi was gonna die, and I was like, that's the most fucked up thing I've ever read in a Sanderson novel. But he let her come back to life, and it didn't feel like a cheap contrivance. I wasn't mad. Like, I didn't feel like I was cheated. Like, oh, he brought somebody back to life. I was like, yeah, he kind of earned this one. Like, I just wanted them to have their little happily ever after. So that felt really good. I was so, you know, relieved. Shit, man. I don't know. It was good. I thought he did the romance pretty well. Obviously, I don't think romance has ever been Sanderson's necessarily strongest point. I usually think his strength lies in his plotting more than anything else. But I think the romance was pretty good here. I think he was taking more chances and trying things he wouldn't normally try. And I think like that's almost always a good thing when an artist is willing and able to do that. So yeah, the romance was pretty nice. There was a lot of, I wouldn't say there was a lot of, there's a couple of cliche scenes, like they end up on this Ferris wheel, their world's version of a Ferris wheel, and I thought they were going to kiss there, but he delayed the kiss till the very end, which was a safe choice. I get it. He's Sanderson, even though he's leaning into romance more with this book, he wasn't going to do like sex scenes. That was pretty obvious. So it makes sense to delay the kiss all the way till the end. But there were moments where I was like, I can't believe they're not going to kiss right now. Like it's the fucking romance book. Like, where are they going to fucking kiss, you know? Which, you know, in hindsight, it makes sense. He would hold that off till the end. But yeah, there's some nice, cute moments in there. I think most books benefit from a good romance subplot as long as it's not like shoehorned in for no reason. But it was nice seeing it be kind of the main forefront of this novel. Yumi and the painters, you know, getting to know each other, understand each other, and living each other's perspectives for a day. It's kind of like that old, like, I mean, everybody, especially when you're kids, you're like, well, imagine living my life for a day, and you know, and like you wouldn't understand. And these characters literally have to live each other's lives and take turns, kind of. I thought it was an interesting choice to make it so when Painter is in Yumi's world, he is her. But then when Yumi's in Painter's world, she is still herself. And I guess as I'm thinking about this now, like that probably makes sense with the plot twist that happens with Yumi actually being an old spirit that's being like trapped or whatever. Or not spirit, I guess she's just what do they call it in Cosmere? Every, you know, she's like a dead she's like a ghost basically. Whatever Brando Sando calls the ghosts in his universe, returned or whatever. Yeah, so she's like that, and Painter's just a normal person. So I guess maybe that explains how they like switched places, how they did. Like he's established so much trust and credential, like authorial authority with me, like, and just as a reader, like I'm sure it all works out for a reason, even if he didn't spell it out for me. Like I said, the ending has so much momentum. I was just flipping through the pages, and I was like, getting all these revelations, and I was like, but I have to know what happened. And I kept reading, kind of like halfway processing it, as one does. But yeah, so I don't know. It was cool to see that age old, will live a day in my life thing play out. Let the characters actually live each other's lives, and it was really nice. He did a great job of kind of delivering this message that I think a lot of almost any story that would do this sort of setup, I think it would kind of arrive at that message of like, yeah, we're super different, but we're also kind of the same. Like, we all have these same struggles and problems, and like, to me, it was all about that moment of like connectedness. Like, I understand you, and you understand me, and maybe I'm not alone out here. Spider-Verse. I love that moment when you'd meet a new, like Miles would meet a new Spider-Man, and he'd be like, "You're like me," and the little lines come above their head. Like, I love that moment, that quick little acknowledgement of like, you get it, like, you understand what I'm going through, you get it. Because that, as humans, that's ultimately a lot of what we're searching for. Those are some of the most profound, impactful moments that we get, are those moments of like, oh, somebody else gets it. Like, those are so important, and so it was great seeing that done, and I think he did it super well, which is probably the most important thing he could have done with this book. Like I said, the plot was great. The machine thing was a pretty interesting little... It made sense that would kind of turn into the ultimate antagonist, and I thought he did that really well. I didn't see it coming at all. There wasn't a lot of foreshadowing for that in the beginning, but it also wouldn't have like made sense for there to be foreshadowing for that in the beginning. I couldn't think of any way to do that better than what he did. That's the thing with Sanderson, is like, he just takes good ideas and then executes them pretty damn well every time. Like, I'm not saying any one of his books is the best book ever, but like, he just puts out good books consistently, and that's, I mean, if you're doing that as an artist, if you're consistently putting out good art, like, you're fucking doing it. I'll briefly, so Aaliyah Chen did the art for this, and the art's awesome. I actually ended up reading most of it on my phone, so I obviously still appreciated the art on my phone, but I kind of regret not reading the book. The phone was just so convenient, but I'm trying to find a cool piece of art to look at. But like this art is amazing. Like, holy shit. Especially when it's taken up both pages like that, and it's not just a little rectangle on the phone, on like iBooks. Like, there's so much good art in here. I don't think that's a spoiler to see that. Well, we're in the spoiler section anyway, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, the art's phenomenal. A quick aside, as a writer, author myself, a book like this is everything I would ever want out of like a hardcover for myself. Like, for a book I published. Like, obviously, like, Sanderson's leather bounds are like crazy nice, and those are what, I mean, every author wants to see their work done up all pretty like that. But you kind of got to earn that, right? But like, this I think is achievable. I think publishers could totally be doing this. Like, I know Wraithmarked is a pretty small publisher, but they're really striving to find levels of quality like this. Like, I think we could totally get there, and I think there's such a market for readers, especially in today's day and age where everybody can get things as ebooks. It's like give me the ebook or give me the nice fancy hardcover. Like, I want something to put on my shelf and look at and remember, like, that's mine. I have that. That book is like, I bought that, and that book was a good story, and I want to look at that and like get that good feeling when I look at the book. And like, let the mass market paperbacks exist, but like, let's do out with the old generic looking hardcovers and do, I'll pay $20 extra for this beautiful hardcover that's got all these awesome paintings inside, and let everybody make more money, and I get a nicer product. Like, sorry, just brief aside. I think that's the future, and I would love to see one of my books looking like that one day. I've obviously like self-printed a couple, and I can't get to that quality. I'm not a graphic artist. I'm just a dude with Canva and a little bit of free time, but that's what we want to see. I think consumers love this book. Like, I think Sanderson's doing some really great things with this whole secret project series, kind of giving the publishing, the big five, a little kick in the butt. Like, hey, let's get things moving. Like, it's not the 1950s still. Like, let's modernize a little bit. This is a whole aside for another video, but yeah, let's stay on topic. So, final thoughts on Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. It's a great book. I would probably give it like probably about maybe an 8.6 out of 10. I think obviously that's me having just finished reading it, so I'll have to wait and see how I'm feeling in maybe a week or so, but I'm gonna give it like a soft 8.6. I thought it was a phenomenally well done book. It didn't break new ground for me like I would want for something to be like a 9 or close to a 10, but it's a phenomenal book and I think it's worth reading for sure. It might be my favorite of the secret projects. I really enjoyed the other two as well. It's hard to pick a favorite, and obviously I haven't read the fourth one. I think it might be my favorite. Love a good romance story. If you haven't read it, you definitely should. Even if it's just the ebook, it's definitely worth reading. If you listen to the audiobook, you should certainly go find the pictures. I'm sure they're online or in like a PDF somewhere. Look at the pictures because they're awesome. The artwork's great and it really contributes and adds to the story. I think that's about all I got. I'm gonna stop ranting now because I need to go practice guitar. But yeah, that's about it. Bye.